So please join me in welcoming to the stage the founder and CEO of TrunkTools, Dr. Sarah Buchner, and from Gilbane Building Company, Superintendent Andy Roy.
Hey, I'm pouring the 6th floor deck, but I don't see any plumbing sleeves. You sure I got the latest drawings?
Just hang on. I have the level 6 sleeve drawings on my desk.
What do you mean, hang on?
I'll be right there. I'll meet you up on 6.
Hope you got that core drill ready.
Every single day. And now I have to reach out to IT to get a new iPhone. I'm Andy Roy, lead superintendent with Gilbane Building Company. From an early age, I had a deep fascination with construction. I loved it. I wanted more. I ended up attending Marquette University after working for many summers on a concrete and masonry crew. We had residential flat work and building foundations. I attended Marquette University then, got my degree in construction engineering. Worked amongst some of the best and brightest at Marquette, was one of five programs offered in the country at that point in time. As a part of my degree program, I chased a career with Gilbane Building Company. I wanted to build in the big leagues, and I wasn't wrong. Over my career with Gilbane, I've had the chance to work on massive towers, mixed-use developments, and massive convention centers. But now that I'm at my dream job, I feel like I'm just a victim of bureaucracy. I feel like I'm spending more time in the trailer and in the office looking for documents, trying to find documents from people who processed information, looking for items that don't even exist yet. As buildings become more and more complex and there's more and more data that's trickling into projects, I feel like there has to be a better and more efficient way to build.
And that's why we're here today. I'm very excited to introduce you today TrunkText. TrunkText is one of the many products from TrunkTools. We are currently the industry leader when it comes to generative AI in construction. We built the brain behind construction, and we built it from people from the field for people in the field. Because ultimately, the construction projects that you're winning or losing, that is happening in the field and not in the ivory tower. So for the next time, Andy, when your phone is just blowing up with Procore and messages and phone calls, why wouldn't you just use TrunkTools? TrunkText is our generative AI product where you can just simply text a phone number or any question about your construction site. And within a few seconds, we're not just giving you the answer, we're also giving you the link to the original source document. So that instead of you walking back and trying to figure it out on Procore or ACC, you can just simply ask us and forward it straight to the person who needs it. So your phone stays calm every single day. How does that sound, Andy?
That sounds amazing, but who are you?
That's a question many in the room will probably ask. What does a woman like me at a conference like this? I also gave the keynote, by the way, 4 weeks ago at Groundbreaking Women in Construction, which was the first conference in construction where I had to wait for the bathroom. Anyways, here we are at the Men's Conference from ENR, and here quickly to why am I actually allowed to speak up on stage here for you. I started my career when I was 12 as a carpenter. So obviously I'm involuntarily in construction and kind of involuntarily here. No, jokes aside, I started my career because I come from a poor background. My dad was a carpenter, so he made the kids work. So I worked my way up, eventually became a superintendent, switched over to the GC side, became a PM, PX, you name it, and ultimately ended up in the worst part of construction, which is founding a construction tech startup. I also hold a PhD in AI and construction at Stanford MBA, so I know a little bit about what we're talking about today, but honestly, I just have a phenomenal team around me that actually knows how to build AI from construction people for construction people. Does that answer your question?
It sure does.
So let me talk a little bit really quickly about what TrunkText is before we actually jump into like asking some of the real questions. Let me tell you a story. Does anybody know this construction project? Where is Suffolk? Here, yeah. This is a Suffolk construction site in New York. It's the One Highland building. It was a shit show of a project, just for the people who know it. But that's not Suffolk's fault. It was a different problem. So this building is about 400 feet tall. And we asked Suffolk when they started using our software, it was like, hey, give us access to all your documents. Meaning give us access to everything that's on Procore, on SharePoint, on ACC. That includes RFIs, specs, submittals, drawings, you name it. Raise your hand if you think we got more than 1,000 pages of documentation. Okay, I mean, everybody, come on, a spec itself has 800 pages, right? Keep your hand up if you think it has more than 10,000 pages of documentation. Keep your hand up if you think it's more than 100,000 pages. Okay. Keep your hand up if you think we got more than 1 million pages of documentation. Very few hands up. We received a total of 3.6 million pages of documentation. It's a $500 million construction site, okay, pretty average. This is not just insane, but you as a GC sign off from the owner was like, hey, I have built this building exactly as specified on 3.6 million pages. That is not just insane, it's humanly impossible. By the way, if we go back in time when everything was paper and we were to print and stack 3.6 million pages on top of each other, the stack of paper is 3 times as high as the building. This is what we do as GCs, right? We like tell the owner that's a good idea. If I asked Andy to actually read 3.6 million pages, and he's a good reader, it takes Andy 50 years to read that. That's not the time we have, it takes us 30 seconds. Why is this the problem in construction? This massive amount of data is happening in construction because we have a lot of different people making decisions in construction. And that's a good and a bad thing, right? But we get submittals from the subcontractor, we get the drawings from the architect and from the subs and so on. And the one thing we do not have in construction that we have in almost any other industry is kind of like clash detection. I know we tried it with BIM, but we have no way right now to do this. When I step into my other life, which is like software developer, we actually do this, right? Like there's massive amounts of people writing code, and then we merge it together, and we actually have bugs, right? The software breaks. Do you know what a bug is in construction? It's rework, and it's happening on site when everything is too late. When you're about to pour concrete and you realize actually steel is not done, or the steel is in the wrong place, right? The time when we discover bugs in construction is so late, and this is why you in your budget, right, like you have a budget with beautiful like thousands of lines, and then there's one line which says rework 10% of the construction cost. Like this is the problem, this is what we're trying to solve. The only way to do a 2-dimensional clash detection in construction is if all of this information was in one brain, and that's what we built. We built an artificial brain behind construction that is perfectly digesting every single file type that you have in construction, and is not just digesting it, but it's parsing it, it's vectorizing it, it's memorizing it. And by the way, this is available today. Everything that I show you today is something that you can buy today. We have a booth over there. A little bit of dropping here. But I just didn't want to show up at FutureTech and show you something that you might be able to buy 5 years from now. I know it's FutureTech, and I know it's cute, and like we all love to like talk about rainbows and unicorns. I do not. I come from the field, and I like to tell you what you can actually buy. So that's what we built over the last 3 years, a brain that is perfectly built to digest millions and millions of pages of construction, and a brain that is trained for your specific job. Not just AI that is trained for construction, not just AI that is trained for Gilbane, but AI that is trained for your job site. Because ultimately, we're reinventing the wheel every single time. And now let me show you one thing that this brain can do. I will talk later a little bit about what else the brain can do, but here's what the brain, one of the many things the brain can do right now is what we just talked about. You can ask this brain, the same way as we can ask Andy about his job site, we can ask this brain anything, and the brain has 3.6 million pages available to answer your semantic questions today. We connect to your Procore, Autodesk, SharePoint, whatever it is, take all the data, throw it against our AI models, and give it back to you via simple Q&A tool that, by the way, works via text messages. Because who wants to learn another app? Everybody knows how to text. You get a phone number, and you can text this phone number like, exactly what we just played through, like, hey, where is this blueprint? Like, what should I do? And within a few seconds, you get the answer and you get the original source document. Andy, what do you think about that?
I think that's pretty cool. Can we potentially give it a shot?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just got one the other day. I haven't had the chance to take a look at the submittals yet. So we're installing glazing along the east elevation of the building right now. I need to figure out the manufacturer-approved cure time on the glazing sealant for the east facade. Can TrunkText figure that out for me?
By the way, quick break between this role play here. Andy has used TrunkText over 8 months on his construction project, and all of these questions are real projects from Gilbane and Andy actually using this. Okay, so you wanted the tool to know what's the manufacturer-approved cure time for the structural glazing sealant. Let's just throw this against the system. This is how it works. You send a simple question, a semantic question. You can make typos, whatever. Within seconds, we'll pull up the relevant source documentation, and within a few more seconds, we'll actually give you a semantic answer to your question. In this case, the cure time is 7 to 14 days, full adhesion 14 to 21. How does that sound?
That sounds pretty good. Can we take a look at where that pulled from, though?
Trust but verify. We ultimately believe to keep the human in the loop. Actually, we believe to keep the AI in the loop. But what we really mean is like trust but verify. Our tool does not hallucinate. It's a different form of technology. We actually do RAG and not what ChatGPT is doing. RAG is retrieval augmented generation. For anybody who wants to nerd out about it, here in the back is my VP of product. He knows way more about this than me. But RAG is really there because we only give you answers from your documentation, and therefore there's no possibility to actually let this hallucinate. But anyways, we all know that superintendents will never trust AI. So let's just click on the actual document and see if the document actually pulls up the right information. Within a few seconds, we pull it up, we jump on the right page, we highlight the section where we found that information, and here it is. Curing time in the specifications is 7 to 14 days.
Okay, all right, I see that. Let's try it a different way, though. If I'm looking to schedule a water test on the east facade, make sure everything's dried in before I start interior finishes, when do I need all of my sealants installed on the east facade?
That's a scheduling question. Let's see if we can do that. When should all the sealants be installed to ensure that everything is dry before we do a water test on June 8th? As many of you know who have played with AI cannot do math. That's why we are not using large language models to do math on this one. We actually use a different part of AI to do the math and then use large language models on top to actually make it semantically form an answer. Here's your answer. We need to finish we need to install this by May 18th to actually make sure that you can do your water test in time.
May 18th sounds right to me. I can't wait to send this to my sub. We're behind schedule. He's going to fight me on it. This is going to help.
Schedule is a real problem in construction. We notice. Thankfully, we have companies like Alice and some others around here, Smart PM, who are doing great things for schedules. But it's unbelievable that we are in 2024 and still using a software from the 90s for schedules. It's impossible for people in the field to actually look at a schedule that is 6 feet wide and has 4,000 tasks and trying to figure out anything on a smartphone or on an iPad. Why not just using AI on top of schedules? We directly integrate in XCR files and extract all the data that you need to be able to finally work with the schedule on site and not just report it once a quarter back to your owners. You have anything else?
Since we're talking about schedules here, I just got a text from the owner. They want to know when they can start using the northeast stair core to get around the building. I don't have my schedule in front of me right now, and it takes forever to dig through the master. Would TrunkText be able to find me an answer really quick?
What are each of the finished activities for the northeast staircase? Well, I can't read today. Northeast stair core scheduled for completion. Again, you see what documents it's pulling up. It's pulling up an XCR file. It's showing you all the activities here that you need, and it tells us that this needs to be completed by March 13th.
That sounds right to me. Copy, paste, and send that to the owner. You just made me look like a rock star. Thank you. I had a schedule.
Finally, you are the smartest person in the field. We have many users that come back and be like, this is a cheat tool. That's what it is, and we're totally fine with this. This is exactly the emotional response we see from people in the field because they didn't sign up for construction to go into P6 and look through 4,000 little tasks to figure out what the owner wants to know.
That's incredible. I just got another text from my mechanical sub. He said he's trying, or the drywall crew is trying to close up a massive fireplace wall right now. He's wondering if he has to tape and seal the joints of the fireplace exhaust ductwork. It's not going to be easy. I'm not an MEP superintendent, and no one even knows where to start looking for this information. You think TrunkText can find something?
We can, but let me ask you this. How often does it happen in your field that you get asked an MEP question or a question from some trade that is really not your responsibility?
Every single day, multiple times.
What do you do then?
I have to try to find the right person or start making calls, call the engineer, call the architect, call different contractors. It's inefficient.
And what happens if all of these people have gone home?
I'm stuck with nothing. I have to start digging through documents, and I don't even know if I have the right document.
You're stuck with nothing. This subcontract is going to stop working. Everything is set on stop. And this is why over and over again, we are behind schedule. We are over budget. We all know that we have problems. Why not using technology to help us with this? So are there any requirements in the project specs, submittals, or in the shop drawings to seal and pipe the elbow joints? Again, we are not an MEP superintendent. We actually have no idea where to even start looking. So we're sending in a very broad question. Please give me everything that you know about sealing those joints. And within a few seconds, we have an answer. Yes, we need to actually seal this. It even tells us which material we need to use. And again, we can just click into the actual document and see, pull up in this case, I think the RFI, and it shows us exactly where it needs to be sealed with which materials. And this you can now just take and show your subcontractor.
Yeah, I've never even seen this document before, but it says right there, everything needs to be sealed in order to maintain warranty. That's huge. I need to send this to my contractor right now, but he doesn't speak the best English. Is there any way that TrunkText can translate this to Spanish for me?
Everybody who has worked in this country has seen this exact situation. By the way, it's the same in Europe. Are we also a glorified Google Translate? Yes, we are. So whatever language you give us the documents in, or whatever language you ask the question in, or if you just say hey, please respond to my last question in Spanish or in any other decent language, within a few seconds we will respond back in the language that you've asked for, so that you can just easily send this off to your subcontractor, whoever else needs it. The times where we need to dramatically learn a language or code a front end in a different language are done. Since we have LLMs at the standards that we have them today, so pretty much since March of 2023, nobody needs to translate anything anymore. We have seen this in use cases where people ask in Spanish questions, it looks in English documents, and it responds back in Spanish.
I love it. It's keeping crews moving for me. I just got another email right now. Looks like the electrician's asking if door 20103-2 requires power. I guess there seems to be a discrepancy between the drawings, the door schedule, and the hardware specs. Go figure. Last thing I want to do is dive into the hardware specs right now. Can TrunkText figure out if this door needs power?
Door schedules, finishing schedules, the ultimate, the most terrifying document on a construction site after the schedule itself. Somebody many years ago decided as an architect that we are doing those in AutoCAD, and that we make finishing schedules that are 6 feet wide and 3 feet high, and that we can't even print those. They're impossible to actually be read on site. They're impossible to be read on a phone. So let's see actually what TrunkText comes back with. Does the door 2010-3.2 require power actuated hardware? Within a few seconds, again, we see the documents, and then it gives us an answer. The answer here is yes, we actually need power actuated hardware. However, the electrical drawings do not appear to actually show a call out for that.
Interesting. Can we dive into that really quick?
Let's dive into my favorite document on a construction site, which is a finishing schedule. There it goes, beautiful. Our tool zooms in, it highlights the red line, and then Andy, what do you think?
There it is, bottom right corner, AO, auto operator.
Just for everybody who's not that used to this, this is the AO we were looking for out of 3.6 million pages.
And there's no voltage tag associated with it for the drawings. Now I'm going to have to create an RFI.
That happens all the time. That goes back to what I talked before about the bugs, right? There's no way in construction that we can detect bugs, and that what I mean with that is data discrepancies between, in this case, a finishing schedule and a shop drawing. What happens then is we're on the construction site, we realize we have a bug in the system, we create an RFI, but also the construction site stops right there. And when do you create your RFIs?
When I find time, when everyone goes home. All my PEs are busy, everyone's in meetings. I'm there at 5 o'clock creating RFIs, pulling together documents for an hour, and it's no good for anyone.
I want to tell you a very quick story here. Andy signed up to do this conversation with me, or this little presentation here with me, knowing that this would be right after his wife gave birth to their first child. That's how important this was to him, and that's what I want to focus here right now. People like him, who has a 3-week-old son right now, sit there in the evenings after 5 p.m. when everything's shut down to write RFIs. Is that really how we want to treat our people in the field? Instead of having Andy go sit in the container, write RFIs at 5 p.m., why don't we send him home and let an AI actually write an RFI? When we have an unanswered question or discrepancy in the data, we automatically create RFIs and send it back to Procore Autodesk wherever you need it. How does that sound?
That sounds amazing.
You're going to see the
Completely
sun
worth
more?
it to me. Yes.
Any other questions?
So it's all great that you can pull from specs, submittals, and tables, but a lot of my job has to do with reading drawings. Is there any chance that TrunkText can actually read drawings?
It's the first time for me publicly talking about this. We have worked over a year and spent millions and millions of dollars in R&D to actually be able to machine read drawings. And don't get me started on what's so hard about this, but like trying to even explain a vision expert in AI to why like a symbol for a toilet is different at every single job makes no sense. Why we have little clouds around something and that it means whatever's in the cloud does actually like not count anymore. Anyways, we've spent a lot of time and a lot of money to be able to machine read drawings, and we are now ready available to show this to you and what AI can actually do. We're for sure not perfect when it comes to reading drawings, just some reality check here. And if anybody tells you they're perfect, like either we're gonna buy them or they're lying. But ultimately, it is really hard to machine read drawings, and we have launched this with a few customers. I think Granite is in the room, Swinton is in the room. We've launched it with a few customers over the last few weeks and gotten really good feedback. So let's try it out.
So I was walking in the field earlier. We have a massive sculpture that we're hanging up in the atrium. I was walking and I feel like I don't have enough rigging points to actually hold this sculpture up. I counted 20. Now I don't know where this document exists, but can we double check to make sure we have enough rigging points up there for the sculpture?
We can. Doesn't seem like there are enough rigging points. How many rigging points do we need for this flow sculpture that is hanging in the atrium? We'll be pulling up the right documents. You've seen this by now many times. And then we have an answer. The flow sculpture contains 23 rigging points. How many do you have?
I counted 20 up there, so that means we're 3 short. I'm glad we caught this now because it would have been a full remob for the ironworker crew, and I have work layered underneath them. It would have been a coordination and safety nightmare.
Let's actually check out if this document shows the right information. If we open this up, it is a PDF of a blueprint. There's 23 rigging points. And now for the skeptical AI experts in the room, you can argue that we actually got the 23 out of this table. Okay, I personally do not know from an AI perspective if we got it out of the table, out of the blueprints. So do you have any question where we are sure we are taking something out of the drawings?
Yeah, let's try this. Since we have to get back up there, can you tell me the clearance height below the sculpture and, since we're in there, the assembly sequence of how all these cables need to come together so I don't have to sit there and study the model or the elevation?
What are the assembly sequence of the middle and lower cables for the flow sculpture, and what is the floor clearance between the flow sculpture? There you go. We have the assembly sequence up there describing exactly how this is going to be hung up there, and we have a floor clearance between the flow sculpture of 14.5 feet. Let's see if we actually pulled this from a drawing. You know the drill. We're opening up one of these documents, and we see it automatically opens the right page of the right drawing, and it zooms in, and we understood this sequence and that the floor clearance is 14.5 feet. We are, to the best of my knowledge, the only ones worldwide right now that are able to query drawings in any kind of reliant way. So if you understand that construction is more than just a ChatGPT that can only do text, if you understand that construction is tables, finishing schedules, 3D models, and ultimately 2D drawings, because that's still the source of truth in construction, let us know. We got you. We built the brain behind construction that is perfectly trained on all these documents, and now, after many, many years of development, also able to do drawings.
All right, I'm sold after that. So where is this going, and how do I get this on my project?
I mean, again, he already has this on his project, so we can like skip that one.
Not anymore, I want it back.
Because you had a baby. But no, we're going to get this back to you. how all of you get this on the project, find the salespeople with the funny Hawaiian shirts that just walk to our booth. But to answer the question and to talk a little bit about future and FutureTech, where is this going? What we've built is this brain, and you've heard me say this multiple times, this brain behind construction that is dedicated and trained for your construction site. And then on top of this brain, we are deploying an army of AI-based agents. An AI agent is ultimately like a workflow that is AI-based and then can sit on top of this brain. Historically, software was a cloud, in the last few years, software was a cloud storage with a bunch of predefined workflows on top. The future of software is a cloud storage with AI agents on top that taking off whole workflows and are way more flexible than any of the static code that you are used to. That's what we're doing. We are currently deploying an AI agent every 45 days. We're working on 6 different ones as we speak, and a few of them are already live and in production, as you just saw. The future of software is cloud plus AI agents, at least if you believe me. And that's exactly what we built for construction.
But, Sarah, it's a little concerning. I'm usually the steel trap of information on the project. Is this going to ultimately take over my job?
If I get $1 for every time that I heard this question, I would be way more rich than I am as a poor entrepreneur. Is AI going to take your job? I really love this ad. I don't know if you've seen it before, but hey, ChatGPT, can you finish this building? No, ChatGPT cannot, and neither can TrunkTools and TrunkText. What we can do is take away some of these like annoying workflows that we really should not have people do anymore. Why should an amazing, intelligent human like Andy sit there at 5 p.m. and compare submittals with specifications? AI can do that. Why should Andy have to like come up with a bunch of RFIs because somebody didn't do their job by collaborating on the drawings and with the specifications? AI can do that. What AI cannot do is what the tradespeople are doing in the field. I love everybody who's working on robots, and that stuff will come, but not anytime soon. So for the tradespeople in the field, you're good. And you're good because your job ultimately is not comparing specs with submittals or creating RFIs or change orders. Your job is to make the construction site go smooth and actually like create a building and not being a victim of bureaucracy.
That's what I want to hear. I want to get back to building.
So AI is not going to take your job, Andy, but people who use AI will. You've heard this. This is not even my sentence, but I love this one. I don't know who did this quote, but ultimately that's what we saw even with you in the field, right? Like you were one of the first users with Gilbane who used it, and I think we had a superintendent on your job who didn't use it. Did you feel you were better at your job?
I was. I had more knowledge. Those who have knowledge have power.
And we've seen this over and over again. People who use AI and who can actually jump on this train today are better at their job. Not just Andy in the actual field, but Gilbane as a company, as Software, any of the others who are using us today. They are already seeing significant, not just time savings for the Andys, but actually reduction in rework. 65% of rework. Okay? Rework is 10% of your construction project. 6.5% of the overall construction cost are because the wrong data is with the wrong person at the wrong point in time. There's enough studies about that. So we can reduce our overall construction costs by 6.5% by just being able to move data to the right person. AI can do that. We do not need a range of PEs or interns that are like doing all of this stuff for us. And then for us as a company, I know we have to say we do AI because we are doing AI, but also like this word is so overused. We internally say we're doing IA. We're doing intelligence augmentation. Ultimately, everything that we do keeps the human in the loop because we believe that the human is the one that can make rational decisions, that can reason, that can be creative, that can actually do the job. But what we're doing, we're augmenting the people like Andy in the field. So Andy, to your question, what the future looks like, for me, your future looks like this.
I think my future looks pretty good. Red is my color.
And as much as we have heard people talk about exoskeletons, and we had rough times adopting exoskeletons in the field for several reasons, what we built as TrunkTools is not an exoskeleton for the body, we built the exoskeleton for the brain. use AI to intelligently augment the human that you are already paying, the human that you have to pay overtime to, that you have to pay recruitment fee to, because we have a brutal labor shortage in construction that is not going anywhere. So give those people the chance to go back to where they did their studies. Andy said this before. I signed up because I wanted to build. Did you sign up because you wanted to create RFIs?
No, I did not.
So let's get back as an industry to what construction should be, to demolish what should be demolished, to build, literally connect countries with each other, to build bridges between villages, to, by the way, all of these photos are from the ENR, like Year in Construction, which I think are phenomenal shots. Create stuff that we as an engineer didn't even think we would be able to create, and create something that will outlive every single person here in the room. The basic human needs are food and shelter. We as construction create shelter. We are responsible for 50% of basic human needs. So let's give the people like Andy the chance to actually do what we are all so proud and passionate about, which is actually building buildings and not being victims of bureaucracy. If you want to jump on the train, reach out to us. And now we are very excited to take any questions here. Thank you very much. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, please be sure to raise your hand if you have a question. In the meantime, Sarah, we have lots on the app.
Cool.
How do you make sure that AI is always looking at the latest information and is not being poisoned by an outdated document?
Yeah, it's a great question. So actually, when we do the initial data processing, and also we do live data processing, so we have the live integrations into your project management platforms, we do a data augmentation part of it. So for example, if we get an RFI in and a spec and they have two different, one says the wall color is white, the other one says it's black. We actually know the RFI has a timestamp that is like fresher, so the RFI trumps the specifications. So we have the hierarchy of what trumps what in construction specifically in our tool, and then we also do timestamping, versioning, all of this in a when we enrich the data with metadata. And if there's conflicting information, we show you both. Yes, I don't know, just you.
Yeah. Wait for a microphone, please. In the meantime, I'm going to ask another one from the app. Would TrunkText work for an owner managing multiple projects with different GCs? Would it identify conflicts and schedule dependencies across projects?
We can do that. For us, it's really like whatever you want to throw in the system, pretty much we do. We take codes, we take contracts, whatever you want to put into the system, we do. It is just a question of like how you ask the question. Okay.
Yes, if I were to provide the system, Trunk, building information model data in a neutral file format, such as IFC, could it parse it?
Yes, we actually love it. I have a funny story for everybody here who's a construction person. When we got the first BIM file from a customer that was worth something, we gave it to our engineering team, and I had one engineer post on Slack and was like, hey, can we just ask every customer for BIM file because it's really good and well-structured data? And I was like, yeah, we can, but like we're not going to get it. So we love BIM files because it's amazing structured data, but as we all know, the source of truth in most construction sites is still not a really feasible BIM model that is on a level of detail where it's actually worth something.
Hi, Kyrie with Dome Construction. So when the RFI question came up, I started thinking, oftentimes we have RFIs that go to different parties, right? Different, like the MEP engineers, or it could be directed to the architect. How does the RFI know who to send it to, who to address that RFI to?
The agent understands what the RFI is about. So the agent understands if it's an electrical RFI, an MEP RFI, or like a concrete RFI or whatever. And so based on the context and the documents, it understands that, and it like lets you, obviously we always keep the human in the loop, so you can override whatever, but it automatically suggests the stuff that the AI reads out of the question itself. It is called artificial intelligence for a reason, right? There is a lot of intelligence in it. This is also why we're saying like the future is not these static workflows where you have exactly that problem, right? Like if you look at an RFI module in some of the project management platform, there's a clearly defined workflow. It's too inflexible for what we're doing in construction. If you can read the RFI and be like, hey, I think this should go to the electrical guy, like then the AI agent can do this as well.
Another question from the app while we wait for a mic to get to that audience member is the only integration to text message, or do you have a web interface or app for a tablet?
Yeah, so what you saw today was like the web app. We're not doing native apps. Native apps are 2010. Everything that we do is a web app based. So we do the web app, and we have a smaller functionality on text. Text is restricted, right? But the basic functionality of question, answer, source is available on text. All the other fancy applications and agents are always more web-based, and then the agents send us notifications again through text and can be triggered through text. We strongly believe we are a text-first company, as much as our engineering team hates that, but construction people love text messages, and so it will always be part of our usability. There was a question here, I think, yeah.
Hi, my name is Ranjit Gadhok with Zachary Construction. Sarah, Andy, this presentation was what the price of the ticket, so I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Just basic questions. How long does it take to deploy a project?
Oh, I love that question. I forgot that. I should have said that. So we take all your data, and it depends a little bit on like construction side, but we say it takes a couple days. We've done it in 2 hours as well, like to actually do the initial data processing. But just to be on the safe side, you will be live within 2 to 3 days. And then anytime we get a new document in Procore, ACC, whatever, for it to, like we have webhooks obviously, for us to take it over on our side, throw it against all of our 7 AI models and actually process it from an unstructured data mess into a structured data set, takes about 60 seconds. There's no human in the loop. This is real generative AI. Yes, over there. Kim, do you have anything else?
Well, someone is asking about your pricing model, and I was going to say, go to your booth.
Exactly.
Go see Sarah and her team at her booth.
Go to a booth, talk to our salespeople, but it depends a little bit on the size of your construction project. We're not doing the Procore model, but for us, it's really the bigger the construction side, the more data, and for us, the cost side of things is obviously like data processing. So I would say an average between 20 and 30K a construction site a year. Yes, question over there.
Hi, Jeremy Lappin with Caroline Corporation. If you're ingesting all that data that quickly in a day or two, how are you preventing people from not accessing information they're not supposed to have access to? Presumably, superintendent shouldn't have access to all 3.7 million pages.
We are doubling the data. So like you have your data on whatever project management platform you have. We take it over while we do the processing. Nobody can use our system yet. So after the couple days when we're done with processing, we go live officially with all your people. And then the rest of the data processing is in real time.
But how are you preventing them from not seeing data they're not supposed to have access to?
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood the question. We currently do not have like a super sophisticated rules and permission structure yet. We are working on that because we have enough enterprise customers who are really who really want us to do that. The way we structure roles and permissions right now is on Annie's job, for example, if the owner also wants to use Trunk tools, we we create a new instance directly for the owner, so the owner only sees what the owner sees on their project management platform. Andy sees everything that Gilbane can see on the project management platform, and if we give it to a sub, we do the same thing. So we are splitting up instances currently until, I think, I don't know, Q3 or something like that, until we will have roles and permissions.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Steve Chan. I'm with Gilead Sciences. Has any general contractor used it for bidding purposes? I mean, you take all that documents that I give to my general contractors, and then the they don't have to necessarily read everything and pore over everything. They can always query TrunkText, right?
Yes. It's interesting because, again, you've heard my background. My background is on the construction side, and so we very much thought about use cases in the field, and that's still our core use case, but people are very creative like you, right? So yes, we have people using this in the bidding process. We have a very large GC out of the ENR 20 using this in their claims department. We have Fortune 500 company using this to create, in pre-construction, to create their drawings, and this that's actually an owner, right? So we have owners using it. We have an insurance company who's trying to use it. So it's really wide. You can use it in lots of different ways, and for us it's a little bit like how we create our agents, right? So we saw enough people using it for bidding, so obviously now we're creating a bidding agent that is just a little bit more fine-tuned towards the purpose of bidding. Cool, I think we have time for one more question.
Okay, I have one in the app. How does Trunk Tools keep up with the latest AI developments, specifically ChatGPT 40 and the vision capabilities of similar models?
Yeah, ChatGPT 4.0. Lots of venture capital.
I'm not a scientist.
No, I'm making jokes about this, but yeah, we are, we raised a ton of money to do exactly that. So we have a league of very sophisticated AI engineers in our company who, as soon as there is a new model coming out, we instantaneously test this for all of our different use cases and then plug in the right models where it's better, where it's outperforming whatever old model we had, and then we do fine tuning on top. To GPT 4.0, we recently had one of our customers run a direct, next to next comparison between how our model was doing and GPT 4.0 was doing. And with GPT 4.0, you got to about 40% answer correctness. With us, we got to 90. So what GPT 4.0 is good at, they're great at analyzing one document. They're not great at analyzing vision documents, and they're definitely not great at analyzing millions of pages of construction-specific documents. Might they be good at this in 1 or 2 years? Yes, at this point we'll have 50 agents out there and we'll be just way more specified for what we actually need. Not we need, what people like Andy need in the field. Cool, if there's any other questions, we have a booth right over there. You can scan the QR code and actually just sign up for a demo, and we really appreciate you guys listening to us, and thanks Andy for being here.